Okay, shooters, this episode of TI Go to School is the fact that you can never get off the X. Okay, get off the X. I get it, I understand it, but it doesn't make any sense and it's contextually wrong. When we think about the X, it's typically a map, and on the map is, the X is where the treasure is, or the X is whatever is. The X is a spot on the map. When it relates to a gunfight, the X is not a spot on a map. The X is not a spot on the ground. The X is you. You are the X. You can never get off the X because the X is you. But this is what we see. People hear the phrase get off the X, and so they think the X is like a spot on the ground. So they'll draw and they'll shoot the gun, then they'll take one step sideways. And they think they're off the X, but they're not because they can't get off the X. The X is not a spot on the ground. It is not a spot on the ground. The X is you. So let's get rid of the phrase get off the X because you are the X. You are the X. Pretend there's a giant spotlight that's pointed at you, and your job is to never get caught in the spotlight. Doing this does no good. You're still in the spotlight. All they move the spotlight over just slightly, a couple inches, actually just a fraction of a degree when you're the shooter, and you're going to be a bullet sponge. So the object is to always keep moving. You're going to move to a point of concealment. I don't consider anything cover because there's going to be a bullet that's going to penetrate anything you're hiding behind. Move to a point of concealment. Don't get married to that point of concealment. Only stay to that point of concealment until you find a better place of concealment to go. Then you move to there. Then you look for a better spot and a better spot and a better spot and a better spot. No such thing as get off the X because you are the X. Thanks for all the shares, likes, subscribes. Appreciate all the comments. Let's continue this discussion down below. And as always,
ensure that your training and your practice is preparing you for the real world, your real world, and not for the fantasy land of the shooting range.
and have a nice day.